Good evening and welcome to Campside Chats. I'm Sierra Keat
And I'm Sarah Donka.
and we are two friends chatting about cross-country female solo traveling in the US. So here is your podcast about female solo traveling by female solo travelers for female solo travelers. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. I'm so excited for our topic today. I think it will be relevant for anyone who's spent a long time on the road. And I know certainly it's been the case for me, definitely. So, Sierra, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about fear, uncertainty, and loneliness on the road and how to combat them when you have these feelings when you're traveling. What can
Mhm.
you do to overcome them? What triggers them? And how do you keep yourself moving on down the road?
That's right. It's not if, it's when. If you're spending any
Hmm.
time on the road, and we have some really good tips from some of our personal experience. It's important for you to feel the feelings and, kind of accept whatever comes up for you while you're on the road.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I definitely, yeah, I don't know about you, Sierra, but this was, I feel like whenever it gets really cold on my road trips, I get like my mood kind of sinks with them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
um, I was traveling across the South when that big ice cold front came in. And sometimes change in weather just kind of changes your ability to get out of where you are or continue on, or so my experience was I was stuck in New Orleans for probably a week longer than I expected because the roads were just too icy and scary, and I sort of got in this mind spiral. um, and so that kind of affected my mood and made me really not question my trip, but definitely um, felt some loneliness, felt some fear and anxiety coming up that I was not used to when I just kind of kept moving, moving, moving. So, um, yeah, more on that later. But Sierra, have you ever felt it? And if so, what kind of triggers it for you?
I would say for me, what triggers it is anytime I was leaving a campsite where obviously I would feel well established, I would get to know the land around me, and then it would be like, crap, I now have to journey out by myself again
Mm-hmm.
into the unknown, and I don't know what's out there. And that's what's scary when you're by yourself. I think for me, it was especially being alone and in the dark, like
Yeah.
at night, especially when I would like get into a campsite maybe a little later than I wanted to and have to like set up in the dark. That was always a little bit scary, but it was also sort of like, you know what? This is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm embracing it. And that was part of the journey ultimately was having those feelings of crap, I'm alone.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, that leads me into my question for you. What did you do to combat your, or not combat, but like allow yourself to feel the
Mm-hmm.
feelings that you
Mm-hmm.
felt when you were in that slump in New Orleans?
Yeah. It's a good question. I think I did a few different things. I was feeling very kind of, I why I wanted to do this trip was to camp a lot. And when the weather changes dramatically, like there were waterfalls and water fountains that just froze in place, like almost like a cartoon where the water is running out, but it's like frozen in sheets. That's how cold it was. It was probably in the 30s when I was in New Orleans, which is very atypical. And so it kind of made me more bound. I got a hotel room and it really made me more bound to my hotel room because it was just really windy and really cold. And I really realized that some of the practices that I put in place. So, anyone who's planning a trip, I would highly recommend you come up with kind of an emergency loneliness plan, which is really important, and start putting certain practices into, yeah, like into your everyday life. So for me, kind of a, I don't know, like spiritual or meditative practice is really important, especially when I'm feeling down or out when I'm traveling. So if you can download like Insight Timer or another meditation app, that is gold because you can go from like feeling really low energy and in a slump to in 10 minutes with a guided practice, like feeling a little bit better. So meditation or spirituality, super important. And I would do that a lot. I also started a little mini yoga challenge because I wasn't able to get outside, exercise, and so my endorphins were way down because I wasn't getting that physical activity. So I started a yoga challenge. It kept me warm in my hotel room, and it just kind of helped my mood a lot. So I think, first of all, spiritual practice. Secondly, as much as you can get physical and really put a practice together, like a workout practice or walking or whatever you can do. And then thirdly, I would say connecting to friends and family. And this seems kind of straightforward. And a lot of you might be going like, duh, of course I'll do that. But when you sometimes get down kind of a hole and you're not feeling so great, maybe you're not having as many adventures, at least I tend to just kind of like isolate and not want to reach out, not want to like have contact with friends and family, but do it, push through it. I called Sierra during this slump and I was like, I'm so lonely and I'm so sad, help me. And she was really able to provide that support. So those would be the three things that really helped me. And at the end of the day, like Sierra said, sometimes you're just going to feel lonely on a road trip. Like that's just kind of part of it. You're on a solo adventure. It's not all going to be amazing bliss and connecting with nature. Sometimes there's logistical things, and sometimes you find yourself in an area or a city that you've maybe just overstayed your welcome a bit too long, and you're ready to move on, but certain weather conditions don't let you. That's to say, New Orleans, very cool city, loved it. I would love to come back when it's warmer. That's my goal next time.
Yeah, I would love to go back with you next time because I miss New Orleans on my trip. I hit Louisiana, but not the Gulf Coast.
We gotta go.
And I do.
Mardi Gras, actually, which wasn't happening with COVID, but there were amazing decorated lawns and houses, and there was just kind of a festive feeling in the air. And I'm very lucky to have gone. I wouldn't take it back, but just being honest about my feelings.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
And going off of your notes, Sarah, like I remember you had called me during your trip. And also I remember when I was in a slump too, a couple of times during my trip, I was able to call you. So again, just being able to phone a friend, and I was also able to grab dinner with you.
Cool.
Socially, physically distanced, of course, but either way, it was wonderful to be able to see you, and especially kind of in your hometown too, because I had never been to Arizona before, but you and your dad were able to help me out with like figuring out so many logistical things in terms of like where Catalina State Park was, also where to go to get my tires rotated and like refilled with air. And so like I remember that was just in some ways, after driving like all day through New Mexico and Arizona through the desert, it was so nice to have like a familiar face to look forward to. That was such a huge game changer, and it made a huge difference for me. So I would say, especially in non-COVID times, if you're planning a road trip, like make sure you set up like little destinations where you're like, you get to see someone. Perhaps it's like
Yeah.
an old friend that you haven't seen in years, or like, you know, maybe like a distant relative. Um, that's one of the things I got to do on this road trip. I had a distant cousin of mine that I'd never met before, but I got to meet up with her in Colorado, and it was so cool to be able to meet her and see what she was doing out there. And it road trips are amazing for that. They're
Yeah.
a great way to connect with people and with yourself too. So, is there anything other than yoga that you did to sort of connect with yourself on this road trip, Sarah?
Yeah, definitely. So, actually, firstly, I thought that I'd have a lot of extra time. So, I went a little bit crazy and I got like all these different how to books, and I got like a learn how to read tarot cards. That's been something I've been interested in for a while. And I quickly realized that at least when I'm camping, I don't really have a ton of extra time. Like I'm either exploring and hiking, or I'm, trying to set up my camp and get food, and shelter ready. But I would say, yeah, if there's any kind of hobbies you have or anything you want to take along, really consider having some comfort items. Like if you have a favorite pair of pajamas, or if you really like, you have a book that you really love, or you have music that you can download and play, that's really helpful. And Sierra, I want to ask about, kind of the fear and anxiety part of this, because that was one thing I did when I felt anxious at night in a campsite. I could always just like put on Spotify and I had some music downloaded, which
Yeah.
helped me chill out so much. So what are some of your tips and recommendations for have overcoming that fear when it is dark in the campground and you really don't know what to do?
Yeah. I would say one thing I did that was very comforting for me was journaling.
Mhm.
Like for me, just writing out and processing how I am feeling in a moment is very helpful for me, especially when I can go back and like reflect on how I was feeling and like why I was feeling that way. I think
Mhm.
it's very helpful for me to be able to process those kinds of things out, which it's also road trips are a fantastic time for self-reflection,
Yep.
and especially solo road trips, just being alone by yourself, no one else around. I would usually journal like before I went to bed, and it was it was just a great way to not only process how I was feeling, but like track my memories too. Like even now I'll find myself flipping back through old pages of my journal of like, oh, remember when I was in like New Mexico or Utah, or like all these amazing places I went to.
Yeah, I love that idea to journal. I have two journals with me. I love to journal too.
Hmm.
It's something cool, like you said, to do at the end of the day, and to actually not only record what you did that day, but like you're saying, how you feel, because those feelings of fear and anxiety are sometimes very real when you're alone and it's dark and you're in a campsite. And
Hmm.
it's not rational, but it is real.
Exactly. It really is.
Yeah. And sometimes, I don't know if this is your experience, but like a lot of campgrounds that I've been in don't have wireless, like they don't have cell signal. So sometimes
Hmm.
you can't just call a friend and say, hey, I'm a little bit anxious. And so having that self reflective tool is so helpful. I really like that you mentioned that.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to go back to the point that you made about Spotify.
Yeah.
That was a game changer when I was driving down the road. And not only that, but especially when I was driving, I was able to actually find new songs that I really liked.
Ooh.
Um, so my favorite song from my road trip that I discovered on Spotify, and I have it in my travel vlog too, which I post, or I haven't posted it to the page yet, but I will, is called Brazil by Declan McKenna. And it
Mm.
was playing while I was driving through the canyons in Utah or on Red Rock Scenic National Byway. It was like between Zion and Bryce. I was going through like this tunnel part, leaving Zion National Park, and it was just so I love that song. I have it on repeat still,
Oh,
and
love it.
there's something that just hits differently. Also, any and every album by The Killers, um, driving through a desert in Nevada or in Utah, like their music just hits differently.
Mm,
It just does.
it does.
Also, if you are looking for something to help you reflect on your emotions and feelings, the Dare to Lead podcast with Brene Brown
Yeah,
is
gold,
phenomenal.
golden.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
I love that. And that's so good. I love that you're recommending some music because it can change everything. I think one of the interesting insights from my road trip is I didn't realize how much I'd enjoy just driving. And
Hmm.
driving in the West, in Texas and in Arizona, New Mexico, it's just so expansive. There are so few people on the road that it's like, it just feels so cool. And you can blast your music and you can open your
Exactly.
window.
People always ask me like how I was able to drive and like not get tired. And honestly, I think
Yeah.
Spotify was a huge part of that. But also like I enjoy driving. I enjoy being able to take myself places and go to destinations, especially since like I did this trip in my first car ever. I think that was definitely a huge part of it because it was like, look at where I'm able to go. I'm able to do this and do this for myself, which has been absolutely incredible.
It's been so cool. And I love it. Like, this is Sierra's first car. This is my first car. We have a lot of similarities in our trip. And we
Yeah.
that may not be a coincidence, but it is so liberating, to really feel like you're doing it for yourself. And
Hmm.
it's such an empowering feeling. I love that sensation of driving. I remember, yeah, just when I entered Big Bend, I think we talked about it, just the overwhelming emotions of awe. And it was just like nothing I'd ever seen before. I was blasting my music. I think the people behind me were very annoyed.
Oh, I kept stopping and pulling over to get pictures of like the landscape because I was just so in awe of the mountains. And
Yeah,
yeah, it was just, oh my gosh, it was incredible.
yeah. So that's the lesson is like give yourself moments of levity. Not every single moment on your road trip is going to be like mind blowing and gorgeous. If you're in between places, get a good like playlist.
Hmm.
Definitely good podcasts. I really like comedy podcasts, and I'm obsessed with Nicole Byer from Nailed It, the
I
comedian.
I haven't listened to that podcast yet,
So
but
good.
if you're looking for a podcast, if you, like me, love sports and are all about female empowerment,
Yes.
Laughter Permitted, that is my all-time favorite podcast, specifically the episodes with Robin Roberts and Billie Jean King.
Wow.
Like, oh
That
my
sounds
God.
powerful. That sounds really powerful.
It's so powerful and it's so uplifting.
Oh,
And every episode is like that. So it's amazing. And I absolutely love it.
oh, I love that. Yeah, it's long if you find the thing that makes you laugh or feel inspired, like Sierra said, it's like I really like Why Won't You Date Me podcast, Nicole Byer, hilarious. Um, I'm very into like ghosts and spooky things. So there's a podcast called A Funny Feeling, and they talk to comedians about their paranormal experiences. I think it's so funny until it's
Please
dark.
text me that one because I want to listen to it now.
I will until it's dark, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm
Oh,
creeped
another podcast that's great too, Lore. Have you heard of that
out.
one?
I think I have that one's really creepy, but so fun.
Yeah, it's basically about like folklore and like how I feel like the later episodes just get kind of creepy, but the earlier ones are basically like, here's some like myths and legends and folklore and mysterious things that people have seen. And then it was sort of like, here is why our society kind of like creates like these myths and legends to explain things that we can't really fully understand. Like my favorite episode is about lake monsters, and it's like,
Yay,
basically they're
love
like,
monsters.
why is it that almost every society has some kind of sea or lake monster, whether it's Champ in Vermont for Lake Champlain or Nessie or like any
Mm-hmm.
other thing? And it's basically like, water is essential for life and we absolutely need it, but it can also be very dangerous. And so with that combination, like our minds, especially in lakes and large body of water, we can't see the bottom. We don't know what's down there. Like we have to find a way to explain like why parts are dangerous or why we're afraid. Like
Oh, that's
what
so
is the unknown?
Ooh, I love it. Okay, I'm gonna have to listen to it because I think I listened to a recent episode and I was freaked out. But I'm gonna listen to some of the older episodes because that's just so cool. Like this, your adventure, your solo travel, or if you're even traveling with somebody else, like pop on a podcast, you can learn new things,
Hmm.
or you can just laugh. Like laughter is it's never overrated. It's
Or you
very
can listen to us. We're going to be on Spotify soon. I'm going to try and figure out a way to transfer our audio from here to Spotify because I feel like we would be so fun to listen to while driving down a road.
so fun. So fun. And thank you, Sierra, for doing that. You're absolutely incredible and I appreciate you. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, so just find moments of levity, give yourself a break. Um, and then know that, like Sierra was saying, every time I have the same thing, every time I move to a new place, I get anxious. I get nervous.
Mhm.
I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have the layout. But then by like the maybe even like the second night, third night, I feel more comfortable. Is that your experience too? Like when do you start
Yeah.
feeling comfortable?
I would say once I've slept there for like one night and been there for like at least half a day, then I start to feel comfortable. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I know this place. This is a beautiful spot. I'm lucky to be able to do this. I'm in a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah.
And how lucky am I to be able to do something this special on my own?
Yeah. It really just sinks in. It's like,
Hmm.
ooh, I'm about the same amount of time, and I've gotten better about talking to people at campsites. I was in a campsite in on Padre Island in Texas, which is just like a barrier island, and they have a lot of sea turtles. It's where the Camp Ridley sea turtle nests, the only place in the U.S., which is super cool. But
Hmm.
I remember passing, I was like, I needed to go to the bathroom and I was busy. And I passed this lovely group of ladies that were sitting down and enjoying a meal. And when I came back, the woman was like, you have to you have to wave at us and say, hi, honey. Like, we're all in this together. Like,
Aw.
this is all, we look out for each other and we're all part of this together. And so we had an ongoing joke about that. And you really just meet incredible people on the road. So don't be hesitant to just wave at somebody or say hi. I think it's all for companionship and sharing experiences, but it's also safer if people know who you are.
Hmm.
Introduce yourself to the camp host. Say hi to a few people, introduce yourself, and then they'll be like, okay, there's a solo traveler right over there. Like, if anything happens, we're just keeping an eye out and
Hmm.
making sure everyone's safe. So
Exactly. And that's the other thing too, that I don't think I did that as much on my road trip, and I kind of wish I had, but I was also very like kind of paranoid about like COVID and also being alone, but also, um, I think one thing that we spoke about this a little bit in previous episodes, but to really like drive the point home, like the world isn't out to get you. Essentially, the world's kind of looking out for you in a way.
Heck yes. Yeah, and
Mhm.
that's the thing is like if someone ever does creep you out or make you nervous, which happens unfortunately more a lot because, women face that disproportionately, just
Mhm.
know that the chances of somebody else also having bad intentions around you is very low. So always just make sure like you feel comfortable asking for help. You give someone a heads up. Again, if you have a camp host at your campsite, they always want to know. Give them
Mhm.
more information. Let them help you out. They're usually really kind people
They
and
really are.
yeah, dedicate a lot of their time to just helping folks out like us.
Exactly. And not only that, but like just think back to any time that you've asked someone for help because I feel like a lot of people, and even I find this with myself sometime, like being afraid to go up to a stranger and ask for help. But
Mm-hmm.
if you've ever gone up to a stranger and asked for help, has anybody ever said, "No, I'm not going to help you. I want you to stay lost forever"? Like, no, of course not. It's human nature to be like, "Hey, yeah, let's like help someone else out. Who needs it, you know?" Like,
Yeah, yeah. You would always, whenever someone asks me for help, I'm usually happy to give it if I can.
mhm,
And I think that's a really good point. Like, we're all in this together. Usually, people camping or hiking or enjoying nature are there for the same reasons you are and want to help you out. Never
exactly.
be afraid to ask for help. It's important.
Exactly. That
Very.
is always just so important. Don't hesitate to ask for help, especially from your camp hosts.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And um, yeah, any other recommendations, Sierra, on maybe any like lulls in your travel? I know that you said you connected with friends, you met up with people. Um, are there any? I guess maybe we could also talk about like audiobooks or other books that we've heard about or listened to. I really like the book "You Are a Badass." It's very
I
uplifting
need
and
to
empowering.
read that. I've
It's
been meaning
pretty
to read that
cool.
for so many years. I didn't listen to a lot of audiobooks, even though they were recommended to me. But I don't know. I was very podcast heavy on this trip.
It's a same kind of deal, honestly. And um, I just got very into like comedians and celebrity memoirs um, because they just made me laugh a lot. So
Mhm.
Jonathan Van Ness's book, hilarious. Um, I really liked, oh my gosh, Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. That is such an incredible audiobook. Just like books that are read by the authors are so cool because you get to hear them in the person's voice. And they usually talk about hardship or struggle. And sometimes you're going through those things or you've been through those things. And it just gives you another level to kind of process. So, anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed all of our recommendations for reading materials and listening materials. And, we're continuing to evolve and find new things. So, if there are any things you think we should check out, please put them in the comments. And
Yes, absolutely. We love and are open to new suggestions. So please send them our way.
yes, definitely, definitely. Um, but with that, yeah, I mean, fear, anxiety, loneliness, almost weekly feelings for me on the road trip, but there are also so many amazing feelings of joy and connectedness and community. And so I hope that today we just shared some of our experiences with you. And you know that if you feel these things when you're on your road trip, doesn't mean you should turn back. It just means you should evaluate, call a friend, and keep going.
Hmm. Allow yourself to feel your feelings.
Yes, feeling our feelings is very important. So
And it's
that,
something we don't do enough.
oh, oh my gosh, no. If society just made it okay to feel our feelings, we would have a way better world.
We
Um,
would.
that's my opinion. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode 4 of Fireside Campside Campside Chats. I will get it right. Campside Chats. For solo female travelers and by solo female travelers. And we look forward to sharing additional episodes with you in the future. So thank you,
Yes.
Sierra, for joining me for this episode. And thanks all for listening.
Anytime. Take care. Have a good night.
Thanks so much. Bye.